Welcome back, everybody. Chef Josh here from the IUP Department of Hospitality Management. I know it's a slightly different setup here today. I've been baking some bread. Got my dough fermenting for the bread, my pizza dough, bread dough, rolled dough, all rolled into one dough to rule them all. So while we're waiting on that, I decided I was going to make something else. I just picked up some brown sugar today. And it's got cinnamon rolls on it. So I thought, why not bake some stuff, bake a little bit more. Apparently a serving suggestion is, I guess, 1, 2, 3 cinnamon rolls, so that's good news. And it comes with a recipe right on the back. Now I'm not going to follow that recipe precisely. I have another recipe I'll show you today for the cinnamon roll dough. We are going to use the recipe for the filling and the icing. But we're going to start with the dough first. That sounds heavy. So, what we're going to do, we'll start with buttermilk. Oh. And we're going to do 3/4 cup of buttermilk. Got that measured out. And then we're going to add 3/8 cup of oil, which is a 1/4 cup. Plus 2 tablespoons, about right there. Now, we're using yeast in this recipe because the dough needs to rise. So again, an important thing with yeast is heat. It needs to be activated. So what we're going to do with this now is we're going to microwave it. You can put it on the stove top, but I'm just going to microwave it right in here, about 30 seconds. We can get that up to about 100, 110 degrees. It's going to separate a little bit. We're going to whisk it all back together. So while that's waiting, we're going to need brown sugar. That's good. That's great. Brand new bag of brown sugar. Nice and solid. So I have a new doorstop. Alright, well, good thing I picked up another one here. Using dark brown sugar, same thing. Pick this one up. At least when it's in a bag, you can feel that it's nice and soft. However, this bag does not provide us with the cinnamon roll recipe. Anyway, so now our buttermilk is heated with our oil. We are going to measure out 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. When you're measuring dark brown sugar, I'm going to pack it in. Level it off. Really pack it an even cup of brown sugar. I'm going to save this in a nice tight Ziploc bag so I don't wind up with 2 bricks of brown sugar. I'm going to keep it out for now because I'll need that for our filling. Now we've got our brown sugar. Put that in a bowl. Got 1 egg. Cracking the egg. And also our yeast is going to go in here. So again, I'm using a packet of yeast equivalent to 2 1/4 teaspoons. If you don't have the packets, then you have a bulk pack of yeast. So with this, just going to whisk this together. Get it incorporated. Doesn't have to be perfectly smooth because we're going to whisk it again. Got all that put together. Now we have our buttermilk and oil mixture. You can take that, whisk it together. Okay, got it about 100 degrees, 110 degrees. It's going to activate our yeast. We're going to add our brown sugar, egg, and yeast mixture into that. And that is our liquid portion of the dough. Gonna whisk it together. Set it aside while we start putting together our dry ingredients. So, dry ingredients. Pretty simple. What you need is 3 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Once you have all your dry ingredients, now you can put them in a bowl, mix them together with a fork, and then slowly make your dough. As you add the wet ingredients till it starts to come together and turn it out onto your work surface, knead it into a nice uniform dough from there. But if you have a food processor, it makes things a lot easier. You can also use a mixer if you want. So in the food processor, we have this mixed together. We're just going to pulse it to mix our flour, baking soda, and salt together. Okay, we got that. Now we're going to turn it on. We're going to slowly add our liquid to incorporate it. As you can see, the dough is starting to form. Get all that in there. Starting a dough ball, goes around the sides. Little trick, you can also make pasta dough like this. Makes things a lot easier. Goes a lot quicker. So, we have our dough. Pretty sticky, but you want it to be like that. We're not going to really use too much extra flour for this recipe. This is going to all come together, and I'll show you how. So, our work surface nice and clean. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this dough out. If it's too sticky, just add a little bit of oil to your hands. Spatula, get the rest of it out. I do need a little bit of extra oil on my hands. I'm not going to add any extra flour here. If you have some Pam, throw it on your hands. But we just want the dough. We don't want the dough to stick. But we aren't incorporating any extra flour. And if you have a pastry cutter, they always come in handy. So, now we're going to knead this, and you'll see it's not sticky anymore. When you add oil, you're going to make a nice, smooth dough ball. You're going to knead this for about 3 extra minutes until it all comes together. It should be nice, smooth, and elastic. You can see how the texture has changed already from the stuff we took out of the mixer. It's already coming into a nice, uniform dough ball. And we're going to knead it. And we're also going to roll this out and start to build layers in it, almost like a puff pastry. Alright. So now, got our dough ready. Now we need our rolling pin. Again, not using any extra flour. The dough has enough oil in it to keep it from sticking. And roll this out to a nice rectangle, 8 inches, and we're going to fold it over itself. Roll it back out. To a nice uniform rectangle once again. Okay, got it pretty even. Gonna bring it over, time. And then we're going to bring it in one last time. All right, now we have our dough ready to go. Now, just like bread, it needs to ferment and let that yeast go to work. So we're going to put this in a bowl. It's already nice and oiled on the outside. It's probably not going to stick. So I'm going to take this. You can let it sit at room temperature if you don't want to wait a whole day or 8 hours. Or you can let it sit and do a cold rise in your fridge, just like I did with my bread dough. It helps it develop more flavor, better texture. But I made one last night with the last of my brown sugar. As you can see, that's why I had to get some new stuff that's hard as a rock. So we have our dough that is rested overnight, doubled in size. Take it, put it on our work surface. And now we're going to roll it back out into another rectangle. A bunch of rectangles here. Just want it to be nice and uniform. Looking for about a 1/4 inch thickness the whole way around. But we do want it to be in more of a rectangle shape because we're going to roll it up with all the filling, like a jelly roll. Alright, so got this rolled out. And again, you see we're not adding any extra flour as we normally would with like a bread dough or something else to keep it from sticking. And it's still not sticking to our work surface. Okay, let's see. A pretty decent rectangle here. Let's say about 1/4 inch thick. Nice and uniform. This side down a little more. All right. Rolling pin away. You can stretch it a little bit if you need to. Down. All right, now we got to make our filling. Filling is pretty simple. Couple ingredients. You can add nuts, raisins, walnuts, dates, really anything you want in your filling, whichever you prefer. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to do a brown sugar and cinnamon filling here. So for this one, use a 1/4 cup for the dough, using a 1/3 cup for the filling. Use a tablespoon of cinnamon. So if you're counting at home, watching, you got 3 teaspoons and a tablespoon. Okay. We've also got about a 1/4 cup of butter that we melted on the stove here. Now you can make this filling by adding softened butter to this and just mixing it. But I like to melt it, brush it on, and then spread my filling. I'm going to keep about a 1 inch border along the top so we have a room to seal it. So we're going to take this, mix that all together. Okay. Get rid of all those big clumps in there. Nice uniform brown sugar cinnamon. Now we need our pastry brush. melted butter. Just going to give something for the filling to stick to. Gonna brush this all over. Get a nice even coat of butter, and then our brown sugar cinnamon right in the middle. You can be generous with it. Everybody likes butter. Okay, now we have our butter. We have something for our mixture to stick to. So take it, sprinkle it on nice and even. Again, trying to keep that 1-inch border clean so we have room to seal. And you're going to get it all on there. Spread it out. Bring it out nice and even. Trying to get it everywhere you have your butter. Smoothing out any of those chunks in there. Okay. So now comes the roll part of the cinnamon roll. Have our brown sugar mix. Take it, working from the end closest to you. Roll it, keeping it nice and tight. Alright, here we go. Coming through, and now pinch it just a little bit to seal up that end. Alright, now we gotta make cinnamon rolls for it. Got our cast iron skillet. We're going to bake them in and proof them in. Put a little bit of oil in there. Paper towel. Spread it around. Okay, got that ready. Set it off to the side. Now, easiest way to keep everything even and consistent, mark off, take the ends off first. You want to work with a very sharp knife or else a serrated knife. Take the ends off, set those to the side. Now we're just going to measure it, try and find the middle best as you can. Let's see if I can get 8 rolls. I cut it in half. Cut each half in half. Got your cinnamon roll. And we'll continue that and repeat that process till we have 8. Got a little thin down there at that end. Just rolled it a little too thin. Okay, now we have our 8 cinnamon rolls ready to go. We're going to take our baking dish and we're going to arrange them in here. Try and get them evenly spaced apart, but still have some room to rise. Okay, our cinnamon rolls ready. Now we're going to find a warm spot in our kitchen. We're going to find a clean kitchen towel, just like we do with the bread. Cover it, put it in a nice warm spot to rise for about 2 hours, depending on the temperature of your kitchen. Might take longer, might take less. We want them to at least double in size, and they're going to puff up and fill up that whole baking dish. And then we're going to bake them off and ice them. Let's take a look at our cinnamon rolls now. They have been proofing. Oh yeah. Okay, so they have proofed, at least doubled in size. Brushed a little bit of extra butter on them. Have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit of extra, just regular granulated sugar right on top. Just give it a nice extra little sweetness, because why not? I'm going to put those in there. Got our oven preheated. So we're going to bake these for 20 minutes with a lid on. If you don't have a lid that fits your dish, you can simply use aluminum foil. So these are going to go in the oven 20 minutes on the middle rack. After 20 minutes, we're going to take the lid off, and we're going to go for an additional at least 15 minutes, up to 25. Depending on how crispy or soft and gooey you like your cinnamon rolls. So we'll set our timer for 20 minutes. And while these are baking, we want to get our icing ready. It's probably the best part about cinnamon rolls, is that nice icing. Now this is super simple. Confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar. I have 3/4 of a cup here. 3 tablespoons of milk. And I'm just going to add a little splash of vanilla. And we are just going to whisk this together. It's important to have this ready a little bit ahead of time. See how easily that comes together. Just whisk it till it's nice and smooth. There we go. We can set that off to the side. All it takes is a little whisk to come back together. Set that off to the side. Really important to have that ready ahead of time, because one thing you really want to make sure you do is you've got to ice your cinnamon rolls right before or right after they come out of the oven, very soon after. You want that hot cinnamon roll to like melt the icing and just drip right down into all those nice layers. You have all that nice brown sugar cinnamon mixture into, all that extra butter. Add that nice extra sweetness with this super simple icing. Okay, first 20 minutes are done. Take a look at these guys, pull them out, make sure we're using our towel, because that lid is going to be hot, hot, hot. Oh, look at that. Very nice. All right, now we're going to finish it off. And do an extra 15 minutes, see what they look like after that. And maybe pull them out of the oven and get them iced. Okay, our timer is about to go off for our cinnamon rolls without the lid. Finish them up here. Pull them out of the oven. Oh, look at those. Look at that. Beautifully browned. They all came together, but still hanging out separate. Should be able to pull them apart pretty easily. Look at that. Nice flaky texture. Good even filling in between each one. Okay, now they came out of the oven. Now is when we're going to ice. Got our simple icing here. And we're just going to spoon it on top of each one. See how it just melts. It's a nice even coating everywhere. Starting to go in between those layers with all that nice brown sugar and cinnamon. Just realized that I also have an extra batch of cinnamon roll dough now, so I guess I'll be eating cinnamon rolls for quite a while and bread. So I hope you try these recipes. Give them a try. Make the bread. Try the rolls just like the Allenwood makes them. They're on IUP's campus in the Hospitality Management Department. Do these cinnamon rolls from home. Maybe just bake some bread. Try any of the other recipes. There we go. Look at that. Make some cinnamon rolls for your breakfast at home. And enjoy.